Very good afternoon to one and all present online and offline. I welcome you all to the second study circle meeting, which is going to take place at the library and also hybrid. Before we start the second study circle, we have a very important piece of book. We are going to launch a book on e-invoicing. For the same, I'd like to invite the convener of the publication committee, Monarch Bhatt, to say a few words. Over to you.
Good afternoon, friends. Friends, in this time when we are in the 6th year of the introduction of the GST, and we have seen that a lot of changes are happening in a technical front as well as on the compliance front, and that is why on this we feel that there is a need for the book on e-invoicing, which is now made applicable for the assessees having a turnover above 10 crore as well, with effect from the 1st October 2022. So friends, on this, we are today launching a book on the e-invoicing, which is written by none other than CA Pritham Mahure. And we are thankful to Pritham that he agreed on that within a short span of time, and which is also vetted by CA Ashit Bhai Shah. So I am thankful to both of them, and I am also thankful to our chairman of the committee, Janak Bhai, and our president as well for this. And so with this, now I request President sir to say a few words on this.
Thank you, Manoj. We are in the, as Manoj said, we are in the 6th year of GST. And on this occasion, I welcome you all for this launch of book on e-invoicing. It's a short publication rather. See, the need of our was that earlier there were 500 crore turnover. The 1st October 2020, e-invoicing was introduced for the turnover above rupees 500 crore. And now, on the after about 2 years, exactly after 2 years, from 1/10/2022, the turnover has been reduced to the 10 crores for the compliance of e-invoicing. It was the need of an hour that we should have some clarification about the compliance of the e-invoicing. And I thank Janak Bhai Bhagani, Ashit Shah, and Shri Pritham Mahure for guiding us, and he is the author of this book. I thank them all for this wonderful publication, short publication, and I think this will be definitely helpful to all the members. We are launching this book e-way, and it's the e-invoicing, and that's why we said it should be launched digitally only. And I thank all the participants, all the delegates for coming here for the inauguration, and as well as for the study circle meeting. Thank you very much. I request now Janak Bhagani ji to say a few words about this book, because he was the instrumental in launching this book. Thank you, Janak Bhai, and also thank Monraj Bhatt and Jatin Bhai Cheda, convener of this publication committee. I thank them all. Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
Namaskar. Jai Shri Krishna, Jai Himemol, and Jai GST. Presidents and other members virtually present and physically present.
I was given a task as a chairman of the publication committee by the president, and he requested that we want certain number of the books to be published. And in our committee also we decided that one of the topics for which we should go immediately is the e-invoice. Because now the scope of the e-invoice is being widened and is further to be widened, and in near future it may go up to 5%. There are a lot of issues in e-invoices, application as well as the registration, application of the turnover, and the procedural part and generation of the e-invoice. I thank Mr. Maur that on one call, he agreed to write in a short period. A very beautiful compilation of the FAQ is being given by Mr. Pranav Kapadia, a very good friend of us, mine, and member of our association. And I am sure that when we release this e-publication, it would be immensely useful to each one of us. And why we have made it e-publication, we wanted to go to the each and every person member of the association to take the benefit of it. And I must thank the office bearer and the president for accepting our proposal to make it e-publication, and it will be available on the website to the members by logging to our website. And it is free of charge for all the members. Once again, I thank my convener both Monarch and Jatin for taking painstaking effort to see that book is coming before the time, and also of course Asif Shah. In a 1 minute, he waited in a 1 day only. I mean, not a 1 day also, less than 12 hours. I mean, hats off to Asif, and thank you all. And I'm sure that this would be useful, find useful by the members. And thank you all.
Right, so now since it is a e-book on the e-invoicing, we can also launch it on a manner. So can we have a clip to launch the book? Jatin bhai and Jatin bhai, can you please?
I'll have to play it. Can I play it first? अभी आप लोग अभी now you guys
Friends, we can also have the launch in a physical mode as well. I request all the office bearers and Pranav bhai as well to join for the launch.
चले चले Nikam sir, virtually please launch the person.
Thank you all of you. Now, since it is a e-launch, Vikram also asked us that he will be joining online only, and we are thankful to Vikram. And so called why I don't speak as a sir, because he is a very close friend of mine. So I used to call him Pritam only. Now I request my beloved friend Pritam to have a few words on the book.
Yes. Thanks, Monal, for the kind words. And at the outset, let me thank President Sunil Bhai, Janak Bhai, Ashit ji for vetting the book, Jatin ji, and my dear friend Mona. I think this was one of the wonderful opportunity which was given to us to share our views on e-invoicing. And as was rightly pointed out by Sunil sir as well as Janak sir, and even Mona mentioned that it's a technology change. And if we are tracking GST for last 5 years, all of us would have seen that GST में दो major changes हो रहे हैं. एक जो टैक्स साइड पे हो रहे हैं यानी जो लॉ साइड पे, और दूसरे जो टेक्नोलॉजी साइड पे हो रहे हैं. जब हम वैट रेजिम देखते हैं, जब हम सर्विस टैक्स एक्साइज जो अर्लियर रेजिम देखते हैं और उससे कंपेयर करते हैं, तो सर्टेनली पहले सिर्फ टिपिकली लॉ चेंज होता था, वो भी साल में एक बार जब बजट आता था तब. अभी तो एवरी 2 मंथ जीएसटी काउंसिल का मीटिंग होता है, उसमें 6 बार साल में जो लॉ के चेंजेस होते हैं. एंड एट द सेम टाइम एडिशनली जीएसटी के जो टेक्नोलॉजी के चेंजेस है, जैसा ई इनवॉइसिंग रहेगा, पोर्टल के चेंजेस, वो भी कंटिन्यूअसली होते हैं. एंड इसीलिए एज अ टैक्स प्रोफेशनल आप सबने देखा रहेगा that we are finding it more and more difficult now to manage the compliances related to GST, and this was the reason, and that was the need कि अभी जैसा rightly मोरक ने कहा कि 1 अक्टूबर 2022 से GST was supposed to be made applicable on company जिनका सिर्फ 10 करोड़ टर्नओवर है. And all of you would be surprised to know जब 2020 में e-invoicing implement किया गया था, तब e-invoicing was applicable for companies above 500 करोड़. तो suddenly 500 करोड़ से 490 करोड़ drop है within 2 years. So I think that's what the aim of the government, जिसको हम डिजिटल भारत भी कह सकते हैं. And in days to come, this e-invoicing is expected to penetrate even smaller taxpayer. And इसीलिए जो step लिया है GSTPAM ने this e-book launch करने का, I would say that it's one of the very good steps which have been taken up. Thanks Janak Bhai and Mona for the same. And I hope कि ये book maximum लोगों को के पास पहुंचे, and all of them should read and then give us the feedback so that we can have more and more updated version of the books in days to come. So thanks GSTPM team for this wonderful opportunity given to us. And at the end, I would like to share and give my heartfelt thanks to my team member Sajana Kumawat, CA Sahil Tharani, as well as Varad, who is here, and he has also contributed actively in this book. So thanks Varad, Sajana and Sahil for your active contribution in the book. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Pritam. And we are looking forward for your support in future as well on many more publications. Thank you so much. So friends, I request all of you to take the benefit of this e-book, and those who have not become a member, they can also become a member and get the benefit of this book and many more other programs which has been organized by the GSTPAM. Thank you so much. Now we start with the of the study circle, and I hand over the charge to Uma. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Monal Bhai. I'm sure this publication is going to benefit the masses with e-invoicing being implemented for people of above turnover 10 crore since October. Now coming to our study circle today, the topic for today is recent amendments in the GST. Everyone is aware since 18th of July 22, we have a lot of amendments in the circulars which came, and we have none other than our past president, CA Pranav Kapadia with us, who is going to take us through the topic. मेरे बिना फोटो ले रहे हैं. So now coming to the main task, I'll request our Joint Secretary Vinod Masle sir to introduce the speaker for today.
Good afternoon to all. It's really proud and privileged for me to introduce today's speaker and the past president, our CA Pranav Kapadia. His qualification become FCA Visa. He is a partnering at AP MH and Associate LLB. He's expertising advisory, audit, compliances, litigation matters, services in the indirect tax domain. He has been practicing on VAT, CST, service tax, and GST, and also Gulf Corporation Council VAT. He has been the president of the GST Practitioner Association for 2017-18 and the chairman of Indirect Tax Committee of the Chamber of Tax Consultants for 1920. He is the member of the Indirect Tax Committee of WRC of ICAI for 2021-22 and panel expert of the GST Help Desk portal of WRC for GST annual returns and audit. He has addressed the various lectures on GST, MPAT, and CST at seminars organized by professional bodies such as GSTPAM, CTC, WRC, and various industrial and trade associations. Also conduct the corporate trainings on this subject. He has also bagged various awards such as Best Group Leader, Best Speaker at Study Circle Meeting, Best Article Writer, Best Convener, Best Leader at Mock Travel, etc. at GSTPAM. Pranav also contributed as a speaker on the media webinar about GST and GCC VAT. He has represented on several issues in GST before Honorable Finance Minister of India, member of GST Council, GST Commissioner, etc. He has been contributing regularly on GSTPAM and WRC, referencer, GST review, sales tax review, books on study material for VAT laws in Maharashtra for beginners. He is also the co-author of Guide to Maharashtra Settlement of Areas of Tax, Interest, Penalty or Late Fees Ordinance 2019, published by WRC. With this brief introduction, I welcome CA Pranav Kapadia. I request President to offer a moment to Pranav.
पेनड्राइव नहीं बाई चांस कुछ लगेगा तो पेनड्राइव आया कि नहीं देखो चेक कर क्या है पेनड्राइव लाइव जाने से पहले
पेनड्राइव किधर लगा है ये है क्या
ओके जरूरत पड़ेगा बजट ओपन करके रखो ठीक we want to
X and stop share X stop share share full screen वाला लेते हैं done कैसे कीजिए F5
right here
yes
माइक लगा चालू कर दो
हाँ yes
माइक लगेगा क्या? डायरेक्टली हो जाएगा। तो इसे यहाँ बंद कर देना। Good afternoon, everybody. Respected President of GSTPAM, Sunil Krishnani ji, Chairman of L&R Committee, Dinesh Tamde, Office bearers of GSTPAM, my dear friends, and all the delegates who are listening to us online. A very good afternoon to all of you. Well, friends, as already stated by Umang, this is the 6th year of introduction of GST. Just before the end of 5th year, in June, end of June, there was the 47th GST Council meeting, which was held at Chandigarh. And like we review our, our accounts, or we review the state of affairs of our clients, balance sheet, etc. It seems the government has reviewed so many things at the end of 5 years of implementation of GST. And we could see so many recommendations coming from the GST Council in their meeting held on 28th of June 2022. And after that, a plethora of notifications, circulars, so many amendments have come. It's not a mini budget. It seems to be like amendments in the budget itself. So many amendments have come and so many clarifications have come. Well, we as tax professionals, we need to always keep on learning and keep the wheel rolling of the studies that are going on in GST. And with the amendments that we are seeing now, so many amendments, we'll have to really keep pace with all the amendments so that we can guide our clients properly and advise them properly. So straight away, I think I'll move on to the topic. If we see the changes, there are two types of changes basically, one relating to law and procedures and the other relating to changes in the rates of tax. And if we see the notifications, notification number 9 to notification number 14, central tax notifications came on 5th July. Notification 15 and 16 came on 13th of July. These notifications are effective from the date of issue of the notification except specified. So whenever it is specified in the slide that so and so is a particular effective date, otherwise all these notifications are effective from 5th of July or 13th of July.
Participants can see full screen, I think.
Whatever, yeah. Hope the screen is fully visible now to the participants. Apart from this, the rate notifications are notification number 3 to 11. They all have been issued on 13th July and they are effective from 18th July 22. So all these notifications are already into place. Apart from this, there are circulars. 7 circulars were issued on 6th July. Particular circulars, number 170 to 176. And 3 circulars were issued on 3rd August 22. And apart from that, there was a FAQ on pre-packaged and pre-labeled goods which came on 17 July 22. So this is the basic material which leads us to the recent amendments relating to the recommendations from the GST Council. Apart from this, there are some tweets also, but I have not mentioned them over here. So this is how the council works. Well, friends, given the time available up to 3:30, I think we'll hardly be able to touch upon maybe even half of the amendments, maybe not even that. So I'll just try to take up the major ones, which would be applicable to most of us in all the cases, and which are more burning issues. Some from the notifications and some from the circular. I think that is what I have planned. Let's see how time permits. I'll try to and let's keep pace with the various amendments that have come. So I'm starting with the amendments which have come in the rules. So there are various amendments. If we see in the budget 2022, there were some amendments which were made in the Finance Act. Those amendments are not yet made effective except 2 of them, which will come to later. So in budget 2022, by the Finance Act 2022, some amendments were proposed. They have not yet been implemented. 2 of them are implemented. One is regarding interest. and the other is in clause 110C. We'll come to that. So only those two amendments have been implemented. Other budget amendments relating to act are pending. The amendment relating to rules, this is what we had thought of when myself, Parth, Umang, we were all discussing that what we should take up. So we are planning to first take up the amendments in the rules, which would be applicable to most of us. That comes in notification number 14. So now this is the rule regarding suspension of registration. This rule was already there. There is a minor amendment to this. What is the amendment is that a proviso has been added in the sub-rule 4 of Rule 21A to provide for automatic revocation of suspension of registration. When can suspension of registration take place? In case if there are certain violations of certain compliances which are not made by the dealer. He has not filed his return. See, there are two provisions. One is cancellation of registration, other is suspension of registration. So when a person applies for cancellation, at that point of time also suspension of registration takes place, and when it is indicated by the department that there is a certain mismatch or there are certain criteria based on which the suspension of registration of a dealer is made. The amendment which has come now is only to the effect that in one of the cases where the suspension is due to non-filing of returns by the dealer, in that case, if the dealer files those returns, say he's a composition dealer or a regular dealer, in both these cases, if the person files those returns and if that suspension, so in that case, once the returns are filed, the provision is now made for automatic revocation of suspension. Was made. So suspend हो गया था, return file किया तो simple terms में revoke हो जाना चाहिए. This procedure was not there earlier. This system was not there in the on the portal nor in the rules. It was there for cancellation of registration. If the registration has already been cancelled, this provision was already there. Once the returns are filed, that cancellation of registration will be revoked. But suspension, if it was in the suspension mode, then this provision was not there, and that is what is sought to be now introduced. This amendment. This is the basic amendment which has come, so that automatic revocation of suspension will happen. My only point in this is that the reference which has been given to sub-rule 2A in the amendment seems to be incorrect. The notification, the reference should have been to sub-rule 2, but I think that it seems to be a typographical error in the notification which has come, because the amendment that we are seeing is relating to non-furnishing of returns, whereas rule 2A speaks about mismatch of ITC. It is not about non-filing of returns. So this is one just observation that there seems to be an error in the amendment. Okay. This one more amendment which has come is in rule 46. What is this rule 46? This rule 46 is the tax invoice which is issued by a dealer. This rule 46 has various ingredients which are required to be mentioned on the tax invoice by the dealer. A, B, C, D, E, F up to R was already there. One more subclause has been added. Subclause S has been added in that, which says that declaration to be furnished under rule 46S on the invoice issued by a registered person, where he is not required to issue e-invoice under rule 48.4, even though his aggregate turnover exceeds the notified limit. What does this 48.4 speak of? 48.4 rule 48.4 is the e-invoice, the book that we are releasing today. 48.4 speaks about e-invoice. Under 48.4, there is the criteria that who is required to issue e-invoice. And of course, one criteria is turnover limits, which we have seen 500, 100, 20, and now 10. One more criteria to whom it has to be issued. From registered person to registered person, if there is any sale, whether it may be by way of exports, B2B, debit note, credit note, for all these transactions that e-invoice is required to be issued. It is not required for the exempt supplies. It is not required for the B2C supplies. And it is not required in certain cases, the specified businesses, which are the case of SEZ units, insurance companies, banking companies, financial institutions, NBFC, GTA service providers, passenger transport service providers, and in case of admissions to multiplex for films, wherever the invoices are being issued. Although these persons may be falling in the turnover criteria, more than 100 crores or more than 20 crores, whatever is applicable, right? But for them, e-invoice is not required. The declaration is to be given by those entities where, although their turnover is more than the specified limit, they have to mention in the declaration. They have to mention in the declaration that we hereby declare that though our aggregate turnover in any preceding financial year from 17-18 onwards is more than the aggregate turnover notified under 48(4), we are not required to prepare an invoice in terms of the provisions of the said sub-rule. Right. So this declaration is required. Now, one question which has arisen over here and people have been asking, this declaration has to be given by only this specified, or even in B2C cases this will be required. Say there is a dealer whose turnover is more than 20 crore, he is required to issue a e-invoice, and he is selling to B2B dealers. He is also selling to B2C. In such cases, whether this declaration is required. There have been questions which have been coming up from so many people, that because the word over here says, if we go to the rule, I don't have it verbatim, it will be there. It speaks about the invoice and it does not speak about the tax invoice. Hence, I am getting queries from members that whether they will also be required. If they don't do, whether they will be liable for penalty. If they don't give this declaration, they are not required to issue invoice. In my view, I think that is not the correct view. It should be only for B2B transactions, because 46X S refers to 48(4). 48(4) refers to the respective notifications for e-invoicing and who is required to issue those notifications and which type of transactions it is required. It is required in B2B transactions. It is not required in B2C transactions. Hence, in my view, although there is a view prevailing that for B2C transactions, this declaration will be required on all the invoices, in my view, it is not required. It will be only for the specified businesses if they are doing such transactions. Come to the next set of amendments. In any question on this? We come to the next set of amendments. These are the amendments relating to electronic credit ledger and the electronic cash ledger. So, sub-rule 4B has been inserted in Rule 86. Rule 86 is about the electronic credit ledger. It says that new form GSTPAM 03A, which has been introduced. This form is for the officers, not for us. New form PMT 03A introduced to recredit the amount in electronic credit ledger, where the registered person deposits the erroneous refund sanctioned to him on account of accumulated ITC or zero rated supplies to DRC 03. What is this amendment? Now we all know, whenever we apply for a refund for electronic credit ledger, say there is a balance of, say the refund claim is 10 lakhs. We had 25 lakhs in the electronic credit ledger. We claimed a refund of 10 lakh, which is sanctioned to us. Out of that refund claim of 10 lakhs, say 4 lakh was erroneous refund. This was not to be granted, but erroneously granted by the officer. So there are separate provisions by which they will either issue us a notice, or we as taxpayers can suo moto make the payment. How do we make that payment? We can make the repayment through DRC 03. We have to pay it back with interest. Tax along with interest, if we have to pay back. What happens to the ITC which was already utilized? I got an erroneous refund. I am paying back the erroneous refund to the government. Right? So when I'm paying back, my credit of 4 lakh had already got reduced in my electronic credit ledger. How it can be recredited? That was not happening. So that system has now been introduced, and PMT 03A form is the form through which the officer will be able to recredit that amount to the dealer. Yeah, this is one of the amendments which I was speaking to. It has been brought about by the Finance Act 2022. As I said earlier, Finance Act 2022 has given many amendments, which first came to the finance bill. The bill also became an act on 31st March. And one of the most important provisions in that was that the time limit of September, which we are all knowing, September is the last date, that was to be extended up to 30th of November. Okay, so that is one of the proposals in the Finance Act. Finance Act has got approved. But the effective date of implementation of those clauses was to be notified. Out of all those clauses, only 2 clauses have been notified on 5th of July. The other clauses, the main one regarding that the extended time period for the debit credit notes for taking credit in section 16, section 34, which was to be done up to 30th November. Whether that has become applicable or not, that has still not become applicable. So 30th September still remains the due date, or rather 6 months from end of September. So September month is the importance which it was having since the last 5 years, that still continues for this year also. The 30th November date will become applicable only subsequent to announcement or enactment of those provisions. Now, within that, 2 provisions out of the Finance Act became operative currently. Which are those 2 provisions? One is Section 110C of the Finance Act. This is a Section 110C of Finance Act, which is equivalent to Section 4910 of the CGST Act. The provision which was there was balance in electronic cash ledger of registered person shall be transferable to electronic cash ledger of distinct person. Basically, say there is a company which is having branch in a head office in Mumbai and a branch at Delhi. And it is having extra cash lying in its electronic cash ledger. And there is a liability which is required to be paid at Delhi. That provision was sought to be made effective and has now been made effective. So this is applicable again only to the electronic cash ledger, not applicable to the electronic credit ledger. Please keep in mind, because for electronic credit ledger, you have the ISD mechanism or whatever other mechanism. This is only for the electronic cash ledger, and this has now become operative from 5th of July 22. But keep in mind, they have kept one more point over here, that such balance can be transferred from the electronic credit ledger, say from Mumbai to Delhi, only if at the Mumbai branch there is no liability in the electronic liability register. If there's a liability in the electronic liability register, this amount cannot be transferred. So that is one more rider which is kept. Simultaneous to this act, Rule 14 has also been introduced, which prescribes how this process will be, and this can be done through PMT 09. Basically, this transfer can happen through PMT 09. Okay. Next amendment, again, which relates to the Finance Act 2022, one of the most required amendment by all of us regarding the leviability of interest. This amendment has become operative. What is this amendment? Section 50, subsection 3 of the CGST Act has got amended. Interest will be payable on the wrongly availed ITC only when the same is utilized. So this is a retrospective amendment from 1st July 2017. For that, a rule one more amendment is the rate of tax. The rate of tax was 24% in such cases, which has got reduced to 18% as per the 6th schedule of Finance Act. So this is not coming as per the clauses of the Finance Act. This is not as per any separate notification which has come. This has come through the 6th schedule of the Finance Act, and which has become operative from 31st March itself. From 31st March 2022, this has become operative. So the rate of interest has been reduced from 24% to 18% retrospectively from 1st July 2017. So in effect, whatever interest is liability is there, which is payable under either section 50 subsection 1 or 50 subsection 3, although that interest liability is payable at 18% right from 1st of July 2017 and not at the rate of 24%. So I think in this, I already given a write-up in our GST review, which is also published in the Vyapar, regarding the interesting journey of GST. That entire interesting journey of GST is the interest component, and section 50 has got amended retrospectively 4 times. There are only 3 subsections in section 50. That small little section has got amended 4 times retrospectively. You can see the tendency of the government of how they are trying to levy interest and collect interest. A good taxpayer should work on collecting the tax and should not harp on the interest. But the way the judgments have come, the way the amendments have come, and I still feel, 2-3 two at least more retrospective amendments will still be required, the way these provisions are worded. So this is just a glimpse of the earlier section existing provision and the amended provision. So the main crux is that in the earlier provision, there was a reference to subsection 4210 and 4310, the earlier section, which never became operational. If you remember, the entire matching concept of GSTR 1, 1A, 2, 2A, 3 was to be followed. That is not followed. If all those opportunities are not given to the dealer, then only this section 4210 and 4310 become applicable. They were never into this. They never became operational. Although part of it became operational, fully it never became operational. And hence, any interest if it is charged under 50 subsection 3, I think that was illegal. That should not have been charged at all. And that is why the government has done a retrospective amendment. So they have understood their folly and they have made this amendment retrospectively. Moreover, the earlier was speaking of taking off undue tax credit. Only the claim, even if you have claimed, liability was there. But the new provision, which after various representation, speaks of wrongly availed and utilized. So both these conditions, only if the person has utilized the credit which was wrongly availed, then only interest liability will there. Otherwise, interest liability should not come. So a welcome provision, although belated, but a welcome provision over here. 50 subsection 1 was also amended, but it is having certain lacuna still. I'm not going into those 50 subsection 1. Okay. Coming to this manner of calculating interest on delayed payment of tax, they have this entire procedure has been given. I'm not going through the procedure of how this interest is to be calculated. I think we all understand. I can just say that I'll just take a small example over here. Say there was a ITC which was availed in January 22. It is 1 lakh ITC, out of which 25,000 ITC was wrongly availed. So 75,000 was correct ITC, 25,000 was wrong ITC. ITC utilized in January in that month itself was 70,000. Balance in the electronic credit ledger was 30,000. So say out of that, ITC utilized in February 22 is 20,000. And then the balance remains as 10,000. So ITC got utilized up to 20,000. Now the person realizes, or there is a notice subsequently in August 22, whereby it comes to notice that 25,000 was erroneous ITC. So what should be the interest component? What extent? And from which period to which period? So this is the ITC availed, which was 25,000 was wrong ITC. Interest on 15,000 rupees should be from Feb 22 to August 22. Why 15,000? In this 20,000, 5,000 was out of 75. If you see in the first criteria, 75,000 was correct ITC. 70 was utilized. 5 correct ITC tha, which was utilized in this month over here. Sorry. Oh. So balance 5,000 was wrongly utilized or excess utilized in the month of February, or rather was correctly available. 15,000 was wrongly utilized. On 15,000, interest will be there from February till August when this was noticed or when this is reversed. No interest will be there on the balance reversal of 10,000 because that 10,000 balance has always remained in the electronic credit ledger. Hence, no interest should be levied on that. So that is how this rule 88B has been introduced. It is very logical, this rule, but we need to understand that the provision. Okay. Coming to the next, there is an amendment in formula prescribed under Rule 89(5) for calculation of refund in case of inverted duty structure. Now, what is this amendment relating to? Basically, inverted duty structure, we all know. We have the judgment of BKC footsteps. Therein it was challenged. Can we tell somebody outside? Okay. So we have the judgment of BKC footsteps, when the Gujarat High Court mentioned that in case of inverted duty structure, refund whether should be available only for the inputs or it should be available for the input services also. Gujarat High Court went on to tell that for input services also the refund should be eligible. The formula is incorrect to that extent. We have one more judgment of Poltroni of the Madras High Court, wherein the constitutional validity of 54(3) was upheld by the court. Matter went to Supreme Court. Supreme Court also upheld the validity of the section 54(3), whereby the government has granted credit even if it is a export of, the inverted the refund which is due is under the inverted duty structure is of goods or of services, but the eligible criteria is only the inputs. The goods you can get refund only to the extent of ITC claimed on goods and not on the services portion. Even if you have provided services and there's an inverted duty structure, so that point also was argued over there, and the refund which was made eligible or said was upheld was only for the input part of it. Now it was argued by the council in the Supreme Court that if that is the case, then the formula which is provided is incorrect, because the formula, when we go to see the formula, this is the formula. Turnover of inverted rated supply of goods and services into net ITC divided by adjusted total turnover less tax payable on such inverted rated supply. This was the existing formula. What is underlined is the new part which is now added. So the Supreme Court told that yes, we understand there is an anomaly in the formula. The formula should also be amended, because what is being granted is the refund qua the inputs only. Qua the input services refund is not being granted. Hence, the proportionate qua the services, the proportionate amount qua the services should also get reduced from the tax liability which is getting reduced. So that formula has now got added through this amendment. This formula has got changed, which is a beneficial formula for all those who are applying for inverted duty structure. We have practically tried it, and the refund has increased. The refund component has actually increased now. So this is in pursuance of all this that this amendment has come. BKC footsteps was Supreme Court judgment, and TVL Transtonel Stroy FCons was the Madras High Court judgment, which had upheld the validity of section 54(3). That whatever the government has thought fit, that if it wants to restrict the refund only qua the inputs, government has its right to do so, and it was held valid. So even the Supreme Court also held the validity, and a welcome feature that the formula is now changed. It is to some extent benefit is now available. 5th July. So this can work both way. This can work both way. We tried it in one of our case for purchases which were made earlier, the day when we applied, because this is only the formula which has changed, nothing else has changed. So there were two situations. One, an application was made on 1st of July. Officer is issuing the refund on 10th of July. Second application is made for 5th July for the month of June. So in the first case, officer also did not agree. In the second case, in our case, he agreed at least that this formula becomes operative on 5th of July. So it should apply to even for the earlier period. I think you can, yeah.
The only issue is portal law is functioning and not actual law, because in the portal it was updated recently, very recently, and it is allowing from I believe July return only and not before that.
I think it should allow for the earlier, because
it should, but it's not. It's not calculating only. So the formula is changed only for periods after July.
Maybe, but I think that will apply even because the day when you are making the application, this formula is there. There is nothing, no change in the entire section or the rule. Only the formula is changed. at least so when the day when you're making the application, this formula should work. Of course, I agree portal can have its own issues, but the formula should work otherwise. A value of goods exported out of India prescribed for refund of unutilized ITC. So this is one more amendment which is relating to valuation. This is the case of 54(3) exports, export of goods under LUT. So in that case, the notification number 14/2002 states that the value of goods exported should be lower of FOB value declared in shipping bill or bill of export furnished under the customs law, or value declared in tax invoice or bill of supply. What will happen because of this? Say there's a person who is selling CIF, then his refund will get reduced. Such cases. Say I'm my basic FOB value is 100 and my CIF value is 105. Now, okay, so first point is that my FOB value is 100, CIF value is 105. In my shipping bill, say my FOB value is say either same or it is say 99 rupees. My invoice as per the GST is for 105 only. So the formula says you have to take 99 and not 105. I'm okay if you compare 99 and 100, but you cannot compare 99 and 105 in this case. You can compare FOB value to FOB value. You should compare CIF value to CIF value and not CIF value with FOB value. I think you cannot compare oranges with apples. Apples have to be compared with apples, oranges with oranges. This I feel is again an inappropriate amendment which has come in through the rules. Although the rules have been notified, but they have to get notified. But I feel this amendment is not in the right spirit because it is comparing different comparables. So this does not appear to be in the right spirit. I was also going through one of the circulars in case of exports of March 2018. This 137 number circular. There it is mentioned that this circular is in with reference to exports on payment of tax, where that is where exports are made on payment of tax. During the processing of the refund claim, the value of the goods declared in the GST invoice and the value in the corresponding shipping bill of export should be examined, and the lower of the two values should be sanctioned as refund. There also no distinction was made between FOB value and CIF value. And if we try to see the GST law, there is nothing like CIF or FOB value. Rule section 15 is there. It says what the transaction value. My transaction value is including freight, so then it has to be done as including freight only. This I feel. So this I feel is again going against the spirit of.
Yeah. Problems are there here. What I've seen is one is the officer will strictly apply this for the numerator, but then ignore it in the denominator. So again that will magnify. So let's say you're taking FOB, that's okay. But below in the denominator also you continue with FOB. You don't then go to take the higher value which you have shown in your text. So that is what is happening. And the reason they are going this FOB CIF route is because in customs it is mandatory to
FOB.
bifurcate FOB, insurance and freight, and that is why this issue is I think created and causing, because there is no instruction which is passed down. So they are very conveniently reducing the percentage, and it is against the basic concept that taxation should not be exported outside.
Correct. And earlier it was under the excise regime that this FOB CIF was having its importance, but under GST that distinction has been done away with. So then why the refund should get? Because on the freight component also the person is incurring cost. He's paying GST on the freight component also. So then why it should not happen? Okay, one more amendment relating to exports. Amendments in Rule 96 retrospectively again from 1st July 2017. So many retrospective amendments are coming. What is this amendment? Proviso is added to Rule 96 1B, where the applicant has furnished a valid return in form GSTR 3B. This 1B also has got amended. There it was reference to GSTR 3 as well as GSTR 3B. That GSTR 3 referencing they have done away with. So they are trying to bring the position of what has actually happened on the portal into the act. It is a reverse engineering, we can say. पोर्टल पे अभी तक जो हो गया है उसको एक्ट में लाके they are trying to justify that what they have done is correct. This amendment, I can 100% vouch for that. It is this amendment. What is this amendment? Now, if you understand, in case of export on payment of export of goods, what is the relevant date for to be considered for claiming the refund? Exports on payment of tax of what is the relevant date? Hey, that is for LUT. This is on payment. So the shipping bill is the date. Now they started matching shipping bill with GSTR 1 and 3B. So shipping bill becomes the actual date for refund. The refund is late. Is interest payable by the government? Answer is yes. Has the government paid that interest? No. See that even section 51, 50, subsection 3, which we saw was regarding interest. Here also the point is one more. That what they have conveniently done over here is they have inserted the proviso retrospectively. It says that when your shipping bill data will match with GSTR 1 and GSTR 3B, that will be considered to be the date of application and not otherwise. Once that shipping bill is getting rectified, that will be the date of application and not otherwise. So the date has been postponed. And after that, 60 days is to be counted. So in case any refund claims are pending, you get only after that, or interest claims rather. Nobody is charging. I don't know anyone is claiming interest or not, or any officer is giving interest. No one is. Okay. Similarly, one more retrospective amendment. Again, in the same sub rule relating to exports. This is regarding withholding of refund. So already subclauses A and B are existing regarding withholding of when can a refund be withheld by the customs authority. There were two situations. The third is now added. One was if the joint commissioner or the nodal officer of that dealer intimates to the customs department that there is so and so issue with this dealer, you withhold the refund. Second, if the customs proper officer feels that there is some anomaly in the exports that are happening, you can withhold the refund. Now, third category they have added retrospectively. That is based on the portal. If there is any differentiation and the risky exporters are identified, there were so many risky exporters which were identified, right? 5,000 risky exporters were identified in the before 2 years. And based on the data analysis and risk parameters. So in such cases, if there is from the portal or from the commissioner any notice is coming to the department and they are withholding the refund, then that will also be held to be a valid withholding of refund. That powers only they have taken over here. Consequential rules of releasing that withholding of refund they have omitted, which were existing 5, 6, and 7 sub rules. New sub rules 5A, 5B, and 5C have been inserted retrospectively. And what they have done is that in such cases where the refund is withheld, ultimately, if the refund is withheld, who will give the refund? The customs department will give, or the nodal officer will? The nodal officer will have to finally give the refund, right? So, what they have mentioned over here is where the refund is withheld in accordance with the provisions of sub rule 4. Transmission of IGST refund claims to GST officers from the customs department in case of risky exporters, refunds, or violation of customs act. In all the three cases, date of system generated RFD 1, the customs officer will be considered as the date of application of refund as per rule 89. And then normal provisions of refund as per rule 89 will apply. So wherever the refunds have got withheld, the customs department, it will be the system generated date when the customs officer transfers or transmits the refund application to the nodal officer. From that 2 years is to be seen. Again, I think this is all retrospective. They have taken their powers and extended time limits. I think this all I would not like to go into. We can skip this. this one is applicable to all of us. Duty credit scripts. Now, what are duty credit scripts? These are the earlier we used to tell that MEIS license, SCIS license, which or a DPB license earlier, DPB license, right? So this sale of DPB license was exempted. Even under GST regime from 13th October 2017, they had exempted that. So there was an issue that since this is my exempt supply, since the sale of MEIS license is my exempt supply, am I liable for reversal of ITC under Rule 42? That was the matter which was being debated. This clarification has now come that in case of supply of duty credit scripts like the MEIS licenses, no, there is no requirement of reversal of input credit for exempted supply. Like interest, if there is interest income, reversal is not required. Right? For the ITC, reversal is not required. In that explanation, one more explanation clause D has been added, and it has got added that duty credit scripts, no reversal will be required. They have made so many retrospective amendments, but they have not made retrospective. They have not made it retrospective, but can we argue and tell that since this is an explanation which is inserted, it always had that analogy and that meaning that this should never have got taxed. Of course, I think there is going to be an argument at all points of time. But I feel in the right sense, they should have made it retrospective itself, this amendment, this explanation, they should have inserted retrospectively. We'll tweet it. Okay. Then there are changes in Form GSTR 3B. Do you want me to take GSTR 3B or do you want we should discuss some other issues? Okay. Okay. So this first change which has come in Form GSTR 3B is regarding reporting of outward supplies which are made through e-commerce operators. As of now, we were reporting such supplies in para or part 3.1.A. Now two parts have been introduced. 3.1.1 A and B, two parts are introduced over here, wherein if there is any taxable supplies on which e-commerce operator is liable to pay tax, you will have to mention, because this form is filled by the e-commerce operator also. This form is filled by the taxpayer. 3B सब लोग भर रहे हैं, सबके लिए एक ही है. There are no different forms like income tax that for corporate different form and for others different. So this form is filled up. 3B is filled up by everyone. So they want a specific mention that if the e-commerce operator is liable to pay tax, then he has to mention it under a separate row. And similarly, if there is any supplier who is supplying any goods or services through the e-commerce operator, such e-commerce operator who is liable to pay tax under section 9.5, not Amazon, not Flipkart. They are not talking of Amazon, Flipkart transactions. They are talking only of Swiggy, Zomato type transactions, where the transactions are from registered dealer to registered dealer. Say there is a restaurant who is supplying through Swiggy. Okay, then Swiggy will mention in 3.1.1 small one, and say that restaurant will have to give it in table 2. I think this is what the amendment is.
Just a question. Now, if a restaurant is delivering to Zomato, Swiggy, in 3B now it is very clear where to report. But in GSTR 1, they had come out with a clarification saying you show it in the exempt non-taxable.
Correct.
But now after this also do we continue showing that, because 3B most of it is auto-populated.
Correct.
So of course this won't get auto-populated because that
is not going into the correct column. That is not going into the correct column. So that we have to continue. I don't think we can go beyond that clarification. And that clarification is beneficial to us, and we should continue with that clarification, reporting through that clarification.
I think in exempt or non-taxable.
In exempt or not, there it is. That it is there. So that clarification is there. You have to. Yes, manually.
And
Correct.
the auto-populated figure which comes in exempt column, you have to delete.
Yeah, you have to delete over there. Right. Similarly, when we come to ITC also, this point will come. So let's understand one thing. PB auto-populated data is only a facilitator data. It is not the final authenticate data. We have to apply our minds. We have to check the data and fill in correctly what is. All the fields are editable over there. Right. So it is only a facility which is available. We should not see the auto-populated data directly. Okay, this exemption annual return not required up to 2 crores, that continues for 21-22 also. There are some changes in reporting in GSTR 9 also, which I thought we should take up. One is regarding reporting of exempt, nil rated and non-GST supplies. Table 5D, 5E, 5F of GSTR 9. Earlier is, so what amendment they have done is not in the form, they have amended the instructions. They have been doing every year. The form is not amended. In GSTR 3B form was amended. In GSTR 9 form is not amended, only instructions are changed. Those instructions regarding para 5 part 5D, 5E and 5F, the existing instruction was that wherever you have exempted, nil rated and non-GST supplies, you can club them together and mention it in the exempt supply column in 5D. This was the you can give it separately, you can club it if you don't have the breakup. Now the instruction is, the new instruction is, out of exempted, nil rated and non-GST, non-GST compulsorily you have to show in non-GST column only. You cannot club non-GST. You may still club exempted and nil rated into the exempted category. So that's some leeway they have still kept for the nil rated and exempted category. But for non-GST supplies, it has to go separately.
But nil rated is not notified, so anyway it doesn't. Nil rated is not notified.
Nil rated is not notified. So anyways, everything will come. Everything will come under exempted only. Right. And the next is mentioning of HSN codes. This field was optional till 2021. From 21-22, mentioning of HSN codes, they have made it mandatory in the GSTR 9. Up to 5 crores turnover, you have to mention up to 4 digits, and above 5 crores turnover, 6 digits will have to be mentioned. If you see, even in GSTR 1, this was already there, but no, it was not very vehemently followed or scrupulously followed by everyone. And the portal was also accepting lesser digits. There has been a recent advisory also, wherein phase-wise in GSTR 1, they have mentioned that they will be making it mandatory. And there in that advisory, they had mentioned that in GSTR 1, for turnover up to 2 crore to 5 crore, they will make 2 digits mandatory. And for turnover above 5 crore, they will make 4 digit mandatory. And this mandatory levels will get increased phase-wise. So in August 22, it was supposed, they were supposed to make those 4 digits as 6 digits mandatory. I think they have already done. So now we are getting a red alert wherever the digits are lesser as compared to the digits which are required in GSTR 1. This is the phase 2. Then they have also announced phase 3 and 4. In subsequent dates, they will make it all to the mark. 5 साल हो गए ना, अभी बच्चा बड़ा हो गया अभी 5 साल हो गए, तो अभी ये सब मैंडेटरी चीजें आने लगेगी. So that is also meant. So this year 21-22, it will be a task. We'll have to tell our clients to be prepared and give us these details of GSTR HSN codes. HSN codes. We are not mentioning. Only outward, not for inward. Only outward supplies. Okay. Then there's a notification number 13. By the time period 1st March 2020 to 28 February 2022, basically the COVID period, we can say that, it is to be excluded from the calculation of the limitation period. Now, this amendment which has come for very specific sections. One, it has come for filing refund claim by an applicant under section 54 and 55. So this is a good relief for us, whatever. See, because the relevant period, somebody was telling relevant period, 2 years, right? So that 2 years relevant period, say my refund claim is for February 2020. My 2 years get completed in February 2020 or February 2022. Then in such cases, I will get the extended period. I think I should take a different example. Say my refund was due in June 2020. From that, 2 years are to be counted for making a refund application. Now, so I have time up to June 22, but I have missed that June 22 time limit making the refund application. This particular amendment says that we need to exclude the period from March 20 to February 22 for calculating the 2 years time limit. So if my refund was due for June 2020, then from June 2020 till March 20 till Feb 22, that period can be excluded, and after that the 2-year period will start. So every time for every month we will have to actually calculate what is the balance period which is available, excluding the COVID period. There's beneficial provision has been given. Apart from that, there is one more extension of time limit. This is for the department now. It is for issuance of order by proper officer in respect of erroneous refunds under section 73(9). Time limit was 3 years. In those cases, what has happened is time limit under section 73(10) for issuance of order under section 73(9) of CGST Act for recovery of tax not paid or short paid or input tax credit wrongly availed or utilized in respect of a tax period for the financial year 17-18 to be extended till 30th September 2023. So this extension of time limit which has been given to the department is only for this particular section. Ad hoc time limit has not been granted to the department for issuing notices. It is not like our refund application where we can file refund application, that entire 2-year period is gone. Here they have given very specifically for 17-18, and the time limit has been extended up to 30th September 23 for those cases. Other cases, this time limit has not been extended for the department. Let's see what other extensions had come earlier. During COVID period, the first notification came in April 2020 itself. There certain time limits were given for the department to take up the assessments. Then one more came on 1st May 2021, which was again amended in June 21. Notification number 14 of 2021. There also department had been given time limits for issuance of notice. There were certain extensions which were given to the department. After that, no specific notification has been issued for the department for exclusion of that time limit of that COVID period. I didn't find any. Coming to the suo moto extension which has been given by Supreme Court. Supreme Court also came 4 times. They have given their judgments 4 times. They have extended the time limits for all quasi-judicial and judicial proceedings. They have amended, or rather they have extended the time limits various times. So that remains at its place. So I think department still can get support of the Supreme Court ruling for issuance of notices. It is there in that place, but the specific notification which has come has not granted that powers. So that actually we'll have to test when the time comes that if the department takes cognizance of the Supreme Court judgment, like we always do, that we should get the refund. Then maybe that recourse department may take. There is also one interesting judgment of GNC Infra LLP, Madras High Court judgment of 2020, wherein whether refund proceedings or other proceedings which are there under the GST Act are to be considered as quasi-judicial proceedings or not. There the court has held that whatever applications the dealer is making, where the department has to adjudicate, those proceedings are considered as quasi-judicial proceedings. Even adjudication proceedings are considered as quasi-judicial proceedings. Refund proceedings are considered as quasi-judicial proceedings as per this judgment of GNC Infra. So to my mind, even though the department has not extended through the notification, based on this judgments, I think department may come out with the point that they are also having the extended time. अगर हमको अगर COVID लग रहा है तो उनको भी लग रहा है. COVID period. So it may come up. Let's see what happens. But as of now, the extension is only specific for 17-18. They have given this extension to the department and not otherwise. Fly ash I am not taking. Yeah, 3B we were mentioning. I'll now come to some of the important circulars. Within the circulars, some of the important changes. The slides are more than 125, 150 slides. 25 पे ही पहुंचे हैं. So वो तो बहुत सब डेटा है, बाकी सब डेटा है, मतलब rates of tax है वो सब है. Those what is important, I think I'll try to touch upon that. So again, coming to the reporting of GSTR 3B and 1, I think was very interested that what is the change in reporting in 3B. Now, one more change which has come, or the instructions which have come through the circular, is regarding correct reporting of information by registered person in Form GSTR 3B and Form GSTR 1, so as to ensure correct accountal and accurate settlement of funds between the central government and the state government. Their government has observed that there is incorrect reporting in 3B, especially in cases where other information, where this other information is required to be reported, that information is not going correctly. Basically, I think I was just speaking to some officers and they told that somewhere in some other state, say for example, we can take Telangana and Andhra Pradesh, there was some bill which was issued. The place of supply which was issued by that insurance company or that banking company to the other person was incorrect. Because of that, the revenue or the which was to go to say Telangana was going to Andhra Pradesh, because correct reporting was not made, and it was not affecting the tax liability of the taxpayer, but the reporting was not getting correct. The other state objected to this when they found out that in the place of supply was, it was a B2C supply. See, where it is B2B, तो उधर कोई problem नहीं है. It was a B2C supply to individual consumers. This is where the banking companies, insurance companies, those companies, many of their customers are B2C customers. There the place of supply was becoming erroneous, and hence now the government has just given a guideline that you need to report it in the correct, that is what they have mentioned. Okay. Next is regarding reporting of ITC. I think here we can spend some time on this. How this ITC is now to be reflected. So on the left side is the existing form GSTR 3B data. Right side is the new form, which is, I think it has already come. It has got implemented recently. They have come out. Just wanted to remove that above thing. This is the old reporting. This is the new reporting. So as far as table, this table 4 consists of part A, B, C, and D existing. New is also A, B, C, and D. The format is almost similar. Some minor changes. Part 4A, what was there existing, remains new, also the same thing. There is no change. So as regards import of goods, import of services, inward supplies liable to reverse charge, inward supplies from ISD and all other ITC, the reporting continues to be the same basically. Main change is regarding the reversal of ITC, how to report the reversal of ITC. Earlier, the old form mentioned that ITC reversed as per rule 42 and 43 was to be mentioned as per the old form, the existing form, and other reversal was to be mentioned here. Then you get the net ITC, and ineligible ITC as per section 17.5 was just for reporting purposes. You may have claimed it earlier above, and 17.5 was just for reporting purpose. I don't know how many of us were reporting this. Possibly none or hardly any. Okay, so that was not getting reported. Now the things have changed. They are telling that even if your ITC is not eligible, you have to first claim it and then reverse it. So, and within that, there are two types of reversal. One is a permanent reversal and other is a temporary reversal. So whatever is a permanent reversal, that will come in clause B1. And if there is a temporary reversal which can be reclaimed later on, that has to come in B2. Others. That has to come in others. So that is going, that is a change which is proposed. The important thing is that whatever ITC is available, it has to be reflected in table A above. So even if it is a motor car purchased on which ITC is not eligible, you need to first mention it up and then show the reversal of section 17.5. Earlier 17.5 was only a reporting requirement. Now it is based on the eligibility criteria, whether eligible or not eligible. The circular, they have also mentioned that this data will get auto-populated, but you need to check that data. And wherever that data needs to be rectified or corrected, the taxpayer will have to correct that data. The data will also have, say, there's a purchase which is of other state. Say there's a purchase, say there's a hotel expenses of, say, Gujarat state. SGST, CGST of Gujarat has been levied. So that will also come in the place of supply with a highlight tag. It will be highlighted in the 2A report or the 2B report. This is of the place of supply is of other state. You still want to claim it. So such reporting should be done in other details in point 2. They have even mentioned over here regarding ITC restricted due to place of supply provisions. So that amendment they have brought about in the form, and this is the new reporting requirement which will have to be done. When we see rule 42, 43, these are almost the rules wherein there is in general, I say it is a permanent reversal, except in cases where at the year end you need to rework your ITC as per rule 42, 43. In such cases, and there could be some differential ITC which may have to be more reversed or lesser or to be reclaimed maybe. To that extent, there could be an overlapping of section 38, 42 and 43. Otherwise, those will be considered as permanent reversal. It is reflected in B1 and has to be reflected in B1. Regarding that 180 days, payment to be made within 180 days. If it is not made, if that reversal is to be made, that will go into this others column. Say after 1 year that payment is being made and you need to reclaim it, and it has to be claimed in all other ITC subsequently and reflected in B1 ITC reclaimed, which was reversed under table 4B2 in the earlier tax period. I hope you're getting what I'm trying to tell. That will have to be shown here separately. I think this is the crux of this entire changes related to ITC in 3B.
ITC will also be shown in the all other ITC again.
Yes, yes. So it is to be shown. No. So part B. So this B, whatever part is there, is only for reporting purposes. It is not there in the formula.
In that one, when we reclaim, it will not match with the all other ITC. We are reclaiming. That's why we have to show in all other ITC first, and then we have to show D.
Yes.
Correct.
They can what's the difference?
Perfect. Yes. Then your notices will be reduced. So correct. That's the motto. So that is why they mentioned here. So to avoid notices qua this reclaim, you need to show it separately so that the system itself will understand there is something which the dealer has shown. Right.
Reversal under 42.
Huh.
Reversal under 42 is made.
Huh.
And subsequently, it is known there was some mistake or say
Right.
it is wrongly done. Then how to reclaim it in this situation, new situation?
I think
Because they might be keeping a track of the amounts which are falling in other reversals. So we are talking that one is a permanent and B2 is temporary. We have permanent, we have made a mistake. Yes. Permanent, we have made a mistake or wrong.
correct.
Here also, I think alternate is that we have to show another ITC and then again.
No. So according to VC, 42 cannot be always complete because as per rule 42, every month you are supposed to do it, and at the end of the year you have to recalculate. So there is always going to be a scenario where you have to reclaim. तो वो ऑल अदर आईटीसी में दिखाना ही पड़ेगा, विजुअल करना पड़ेगा, नीचे रिपोर्टिंग आएगी, तो वो एक खड़ा ही notice आएगा।
You will have to reclaim. That is what I mentioned earlier also. That you will have to mention. D1 is yes, it is incomplete to that extent. D1.
When we reclaim D5, then we can show in D1.
I doubt because it specifically speaks of 4B2, but yeah, so they have not mentioned the others category over here. Yeah, so that lacuna is still there. Lacuna is there. What you are telling is a lacuna. So either of we'll have to take either of the stand. But I feel even if you mention here, it will not exactly suffice the purpose, but at least it will have some backing that we have done that. To that extent, we can tell that we have, because there is no other column available. Correct. Correct. I think to that extent we can do that. Yeah, it's better. Huh.
In 5%, then I was showing it at ineligible.
Huh.
So now, is there any change in that?
There is no change in that because if there is an ineligible, so that would already have been done. Are you still having new? That will not be having new. What is there in the electronic credit ledger? It is standing now.
That has been reversed because I am in the 5%. And the current ITC I am showing it as an ineligible item. Now, with this defining of others, wherein POS and 16.4 has been, they have said if POS and 16.4 would be shown in ineligible others.
Right.
So, where to show that builders ITC which we were showing up till date in others?
So that is actually again as per rule 42 only. If we see that is because of under rule 42 only it is coming. It is a sub rule. That will come under 42 only, it will report. B1.
One question now, there are two schools of thought which is going around. For 3B, that after this period you stick to 2B में जो आया वो और फिर और एक reconciliation का reconciliation करेगा. So in a normal sense, just to give an example, say I purchased some goods, the invoice is cut on the 30th, but since I received the goods on the 1st of the next month, I will book it in my books on the 1st. So now, what is to be done? Do you show it and then reverse it ineligible because due to POS? Because that is absurd according to me. Ideally, you should stick to one place, which is my books, which is my backing, and books से ही जाना चाहिए ना, or else it doesn't make sense.
No, I don't think you should reverse it. Otherwise, it will become an issue. You will not show it over there.
I keep on doing reconciliation, and when GST and IC का time आएगा, I'll be lost.
You will be lost.
Yeah. Reconciliation. Because there is a school of thought which is going around.
You are saying that total of B2B transactions which is appearing in 2B needs to be shown in all others. Right? That is one school of thought.
Correct.
But I don't think so. It should be like that.
That's what I'm saying. See, services beyond the point they don't understand. ये उधर से that mindset is coming. Goods वाला भी understand that it is not possible only practically. कितना सारा ड्रॉवर में रह जाता है, मैं बुक ही नहीं किया तो फिर मैं ऐसे सब reconciliation थोड़ी कर दूँगा.
Correct. So the point is that whether to take it as per books or whether to take it as per 2B. But what should we follow? Books or 2B? So books. So I think it is better to go as per books. It is better to go as per books. And anyways, in their system, they will be able to, because on cumulative basis, they even when we go for refund or whenever audits are there, they are asking in which month credit you have taken. So all those questions are coming. When it has come in your 2A, in which month you have taken the credit, that chart anyways they are asking. So I think there should not be an issue if you are going as per books. We did not reverse it, and whatever is to be claimed, that can be shown as a reconciliation statement to them. Yeah.
Exactly whatever information we are populating. Is it mandatory that you have to follow this? If I fix my return in with the old fashion, in the simple words if I would say, in the old fashion way which I used to feel like the ineligible ITC so far as the purchases of motor vehicle is concerned. Most of the
Dealers are not
are following this system that that never counts in the ITC ledger. Whole purchases goes in the asset
or wherever the
Yeah,
purchases which are not eligible for set-off, it gets debited into PNL account. And it never appears in the ITC ledger.
Right.
So those purchases are never accounted in the, I would say, the eligible purchases or eligible ITC purchases for GST. So that data, as it is, the way system is set after or from the beginning itself, when we were in VAT,
There the
thing
same
used to
thing
happen.
happened. Yeah.
So getting that data is going to be a task. वो अलग से उसके ऊपर वर्कआउट करना पड़ेगा. So is it mandatory that what is my total ITC input tax credit or the tax paid on purchases and then thereafter deduct that from the whatever down the columns are there? Is it mandatory that I have to follow?
So now the question is that whether a form which is issued by the government, so this is the form itself has changed. Apart from the form, there's a circular which goes on to explain that this is how you have to fill up the form. Are we telling that we are challenging the form itself, that the form itself, the tables in the form are incorrect? I don't want to fill up that. So
I
get your point, because it is actually very cumbersome, and they are introducing from mid of the year, from August 22, they are 5th July 22, they are introducing. And the system is functioning from this current month, I think from August, from August only it is functioning. It was not functioning earlier also. So any day they want to bring in, they are bringing it.
If we go to the fundamentals, what is the purpose of this return? Purpose of the return is to self-assess and pay the correct liability. If ultimately I am paying the correct liability, I am not taking ineligible ITC. And if any query comes, I am in a position to explain. And if it is not possible to fill up so much data, then what would be the
there would be no, I don't think there would be much of a challenge on this, because ultimately it is qua the ineligible ITC which you are not claimed. It may only amount to that data is not mentioned in the correct columns. Only to that extent there could be an error, assuming everything else is claimed correctly. I don't think there will be any tax liability because of that. Even if the department levies penalty, I think we should be able to fight it out, because otherwise our data is not maintained in that manner, nor does the law require that you mention it in this manner. Form says so. There is nothing in the law, and whatever tax liability is there, I have discharged correctly. So I think we should always be able to argue it out, a good case to argue out in future also, that ultimately whatever tax liability has been paid. Say for smaller dealers or for other companies, if you want to save the hassles of getting unnecessary notices every month, because they will issue a digitalized notice. So if you want to save it, you do it. If you want to fight it out, you always have the argument available that this is not required. So that dealer will have to take a call. You have to tell them this is the position, how things are, what the government wants. Argument is available for the other side also.
But even in this scenario also, the department will issue or may issue notice seeking the information on the details of the ITC which is reversed under 38, 42, 43, 75 others.
Respective.
So whether you show it as a net of ITC or whether you show in this manner, and Pranav, sometimes the quantum of penalty is, for us it is very low to go into appeal, but for the dealer it might be a bit of an expensive
right.
It's like a monthly audit.
Yeah, it's just like a monthly audit and lots of it's lots of time.
Notice, for reversal of ITC which is 630 rupees, the interest is around 500 rupees.
20,000 penalty. 10, 20.
20,
I also received for 400 rupees tax and 20,000 penalty.
What they want to do exactly, because now do it. Is combined after everything, and ICS combined total they are giving. So here they have reduced their work. So if we give proper data, they can only total match ICS. And see, we are getting the notices where they are giving consolidated figures. So data ITC is there. In that, all ITC are there. 75 also there, etc. And we are not taking it. So it may be sometimes less than what we have. They are consolidated higher. So if we do this exercise, then they will reach the proper figure.
No, so I agree. So There are two ways of looking at it. One way is that whether we have the time, the resources, and the charges that we charge are equivalent to the time and efforts being spent on this. From the client side, what is going to happen, and can we argue it out? That okay, ultimately we have claimed it correct. So I think that position every tax professional will have to analyze for his client and take a position. Not competent. This data itself is difficult.
System has prevailing in the market as far as accounting is concerned. Say a motor car is purchased, the whole amount of the bill is capitalized directly. It is not like the GST figure on the motor car goes into the GST account and then a journal entry is filed and reversal is done. Generally, these accountants, so we took up a meeting for our clients on Zoom. And I tell you, sir, no accountant is ready to do all this. Without doing this in the any software or whatever software they're doing, we won't be generating the data for this type of
Correct. It is a big difficulty. It is a difficulty.
So monthly is okay. Every month you might do this exercise. Imagine reconciling as woman said for 9C. Every month you are having this reconciliation. That annual exercise becomes a real nightmare. It becomes really.
That's difficult.
So actually, I had just one question. So they got it in the rules. After getting into the rules, they realized that हमने public domain में डालना नहीं. So they gave time till 30th August. The moment 1st September came, it was implemented in the system, which means it was just an eyewash.
Definitely.
कोई मतलब ही नहीं था. वो
Definitely.
representation जाए उनको analyze करे उसके बाद ही come up with changes, right? It was tiny. It is just a show.
Since they notified earlier, then they put it up on the portal for seeking the views, because this was already operational from 5th of July. This is operational 5th of July. Yeah, Mahesh bhai.
B2 is only about reporting purpose, right?
Yeah, only reporting.
It should not come under all other items because there are two seats in 2B. One is eligible ITC and non-eligible. Non-eligible ITC data will be reported there, I think. D2.
So ineligible.
Two seats in the
D1 and D2.
D1, D2, two are there.
I am talking about D2.
Yeah, that is only for reporting.
Only reporting.
Which are coming to be ineligible ITC.
Yes.
It is not related with eligible ITC. It is non-eligible ITC.
It is non-eligible ITC. Yes, it is reported. Yes.
Basically, it will not be reported in all other. Yes.
But you will not show it on because you never booked it. If you are taking your books as days, then you are not booked it. Right? No,
But in case.
आप निकाल देंगे कि आपने लिया ही नहीं.
Right, but when by chance if you have booked it, you will have to show it in others.
Yeah.
In B2, if you have booked it, say in the system it is coming as booked, then you need to reverse.
So in fact, in 9 and 9C should be affected according to this, reporting. Because under 9, then none of these details are properly asked for.
No, this under 9 already this breakup was there. 38, 42, 43 was already there. 17.5 was also there. Under 9 is already there. This breakup is there.
9 is there.
Reclaim column is also there. No, reclaim is also there.
Under 9C, it only asks for the total amount of ITC and what is eligible.
Because 9C they are not, under 9 it is there already.
The information what they are seeking in 3B is different, 9 is different, 9 is different.
So 3B is getting.
Even 16.4. 16.4 is time limit. Okay, in ITC. Now in this 2B scenario, suppose the supplier is filing the return late. So anyhow I am not eligible. It doesn't form part of part A. But still I need to report it.
No.
I mean that is how it is designed, right? 16.4.
Supplier has filed late.
Yeah. See,
He has filed late, so it is beyond 16.4.
Time limit for claiming ITC. Now with a 2B scenario, if the supplier is filing late, anyhow I am not eligible. So वो A का part तो है ही, अभी समझो उसकी late बात. So still मेरे को यहाँ पे report करना है 16.4.
No, but I think Ashish bhai, no, there's a difference. In the query there's a difference because you can still claim it. Correct. It is not contemplating.
If you take books as base, कुछ नहीं. If you don't take books as base, if you take 2B as base, तो जो परचेज आपने किया है अगर वो आपको रिसीव हुआ नेक्स्ट मंथ के उसमें तो आपने नेक्स्ट मंथ में बुक किया है वो उधर आएगा शेष सप्लाई जिसमें अलग है वो आएगा
So
लेकिन वो आपका जो supplier led file किया that is doubtful according to me. That is your ITC which is claimed by you after supplier. Then you can go over here, not the supplier.
हाँ that's all तो फिर ये दिखाएगा
so only if you have claimed. So may not come. It may not come. Yeah. So it may not come. No. Yeah. So okay, but okay. So I get your point. So now what may happen is you have claimed it in March only. Say in March 22 you have correctly claimed, and in books also in 3B also. That dealer has filed in October 22, and that is why it is reflecting in 2B. And the department feels that should be disallowed, which we don't feel it should be disallowed. Then whether to report here or not. Why should we report? We will not report it over here. We will not report. I think there are still many amendments. I will take only one now, circular number 171 regarding fake invoices. I think this is important for all of us. I suppose everybody might have already read it, but still I think I'll take through this. This is the case of fake invoicing. There are 3 examples which are given in the circular. We will take each example step by step to understand what they have mentioned and what they are intending to do. The first is the scenario is only a simple scenario where A has issued tax invoice to another registered person B without any underlying supply of goods or services or both. So then it stops here. We don't go to the subsequent scenario. What will happen? That will come in the subsequent example. So it stops here. So A has issued invoice to B without any underlying supply of goods or services. So whether any demand and recovery can be made from A. The clarification is that since there is only an issuance of tax invoice by A to B without the underlying supply of goods or services or both, therefore such an activity does not satisfy the criteria of supply. As there is no supply by A to B in respect of such tax invoice in terms of provisions of section 7 of the CGST Act, no tax liability arises against A for the said transaction. A has issued a fake invoice for A, tax liability does not arise, interest on that does not arise. And accordingly, no demand and recovery is required to be made against A under the provisions of section 73 or 74 of the CGST Act in respect of the same. But okay, besides, no penal action under 73 or 74 can be taken against A in respect of the said transaction. However, A shall be liable for penal action under section 120 to 112 of the CGST Act for issuing tax invoices without actual supply of goods or services or both, which is equal to 100% of the tax. Correct. So government is clarifying that since there is no underlying supply, there is no supply, there is no tax or no interest, but yes, there is a penalty, not under section 73, 74, but a penalty under section 120 to 112, which will be equivalent to 100. So for fake invoice, they are proposing a penalty only and not tax and interest. This is in the case of A. Now coming to the second example.
But sir, the thing is, they say 120 to 112. They say 100% of tax. Now who will determine the tax? For that you still have to go to 73, 74.
Yeah. No, so the tax involved in that transaction. So if in the invoice, so who will determine? So if there is a fake invoice and which is also available on the portal also, which is a bill is available which says that this much is the value. Say it is a 1 lakh invoice and plus 18,000 is the tax. So that 18,000 is the quantum of tax.
Right. So amount of credit passed on.
Amount of credit passed on will also come. So that is a correct. So now that is the second clarification over here. So now here, so now this is the second one. A has issued tax invoice to another registered person B without any underlying supply of goods or services or both. B avails the input tax credit on the basis of the said tax invoice. B further issues invoice along with underlying supply of goods or services or both. So B has taken a fake invoice, but he is issuing a regular invoice with supply of goods. सिर्फ ITC गलत लिया है B ने. In the case of B. So what does the provision say? Since B has availed and utilized fraudulent ITC the basis of the said tax invoice without receiving the goods or services or both in contravention of 16(2)(b). 16(2)(b) speaks of that the invoice has to come along with the supply. The goods and the services are to be received. They are not received by B. Therefore, B shall be liable for the demand and recovery of ITC. तो A ने tax और interest नहीं भरा, लेकिन B को ITC disallow होगा. B को tax, ITC का tax और interest दोनों भरना पड़ेगा. Under 74, along with interest and provisions of 50. Further, as per provisions of 75(13) of the CGST Act, if penal action for fraudulent availment or utilization of ITC is taken against B under section 74, no penalty for the said fraudulent availment can be imposed on B under section 122. So, दो में से एक penalty, either 73, 74 का penalty या तो 122 का, दोनों penalty नहीं लगे. Penalty, so on the same time, now we can see that in the first transaction, A was only paying the penalty. Now we come to B. B has taken the fake invoice, but he has issued a real invoice with goods, a real transaction. So his ITC is getting disallowed. So tax, interest, penalty तीनों B को लगेगा. A ने penalty भरा, same transaction के ऊपर B tax, interest और penalty भरेगा. Now third scenario. A has issued tax invoice to B without underlying supply of goods or services or both. B avails the input tax credit and issues invoice to C without underlying supply of both. So B is also issuing fake invoice. Then what will happen? In this case, ITC availed by B in its electronic credit ledger on the basis of tax invoice issued by A without actual receipt of goods or services or both has been utilized by B for passing of ITC without any underlying supply. को कुछ नहीं आएगा भरने को. मतलब there was no supply of goods or services or both by B to C in respect of the same. ITC availed by B in his electronic ledger, credit ledger on the basis of invoice issued by A without actual receipt of goods is ineligible in terms of 16(2)(b). In this case, there was no supply of goods or services by B to C in respect of the said transaction, and also no tax was required to be paid in respect of the said transaction. Therefore, in this specific cases, no demand in recovery of either input tax credit availed by B or tax liability in respect of outward transaction by B to C is required to be made from B under the provisions of section 73. So, dono, if B is taking a fake invoice and issuing a fake invoice, ITC will not get disallowed. Outward supply is also not getting disallowed. Penalty will be leviable under section 122. Then again, what will happen to C? C को tax, interest, penalty तीनों लगे. As per the earlier clarification, C को tax, interest, penalty तीनों लगेगा. So I think this is a much welcome clarification which was required. पेनल्टी लगेगा ना, दोनों पेनल्टी लगेगा, दोनों पेनल्टी लगेगा बी को 100%. Equivalent tax, yeah. So I think these were some of the amendments which I thought were necessary. Of course, there are many more amendments to this. But thank you for giving me this opportunity to relearn all the provisions which have got amended and study them. There are many other amendments and relating to tax, legal metrology act. I think that is also one more important area which will require thought processes from the professionals. Many things in this, but in the available time, this is what I could complete. I have given my notes. It may be shared to the participants if required. And thank you once again for a very patient hearing. Thank you very much.
Before we part, let us have give a formal vote of thanks for the session. Thank you, Pranav, for highlighting us with the latest amendments in the GST. Thank you, Pranav, for highlighting us with the latest amendments in GST. As you rightly pointed out, that one session of 1.5 hours is not enough to go through all the amendments, but you decently covered most of the important ones, and we once again thank you for that. As always, you have been the one of the thought bearers for the association's knowledge sharing, and thank you once again for that. May I request everybody to give a loud round of applause for also thank all the participants for interacting and making the session engaging, and thank you so much. I'm sure there is much more things to discuss in detail. We are thinking of having another session on the circulars, etc., specifically on the latest circulars thing. We'll be having it in near future, definitely. Before we part for the day, I have certain announcements to make. There is a intensive study circle meeting starting from 16th of September 2022 this year, and already the schedule is out. It will be from 16th September to June 2023. The first session is on issues in assessment recovery proceedings under GST, where the group leader is Dharmen Shah and monitor is C. Asit Shah. The members can enroll for the intensive study circle meetings for INR 1650. And non-members can enroll for 1850. So we request all the members, you can enroll for this meeting and make it as interactive as possible once again over there itself. And also for the renewal thing, there is last 2 days for renew and avail the free membership of GSTPAM with free taxman GST module for a month. So we request everybody who has still not taken the membership or renewed the membership, please renew it and avail the offer from taxman. And that is an intensive we are going to conduct this year in hybrid mode. Not only there will be personal meeting, as well as people can join on the hybrid over the Zoom platform also. So with this, announcements are also over. We thank everybody for coming for the session. We rise for the national anthem. Janagana Mana Vinayaka Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Punjab Sindh Gujarat Maratha Dravida Utkal Ganga Vindhya Himachal Yamuna Ganga Ujjala Jaladhi Taranga Tava Shubha Name Jage Tava Shubha Ashish Mage Gaye Tava Jaya Gatha Janagana Mangala Dayak Jaya He Bharat Bhagya Vidhata Jaya He Jaya He Jaya He Jaya 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 He Bharat Mata Ki Jai.